Hello, ESL 40, NC ESL 49, and welcome to our final week before our final exam. Today we will be talking about how to study and what to study. So let's get started. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is the final PowerPoint of the semester. I cannot believe this. We have come so far, you guys. I am so proud of all that we have been doing. So let's talk about what we're going to do today. We're going to review the parts of speech: sentence structure, verb tenses, nouns and quantifiers, and gerunds and infinitives. These are the topics that are going to be on your final exam. At the end of the PowerPoint presentation, we will talk about how I will test you, since I've had to revise our final exam because it's not in person. But let's first start off by reviewing these 5 topics. Oh yeah, so before we begin, I suggest making a study guide to help you organize the information that we have learned. Our final exam is over the entire semester. As I've just said, it's over 5 topics. It's a lot of information, but making a study guide can help you organize all of the information both in your brain and on paper. A study guide you can create in any way that suits you. So I've kind of created a study guide for us today in this PowerPoint presentation. I've talked about the main ideas, the key concepts, and some important points. So in your notebook or on the computer, although I suggest doing it in a notebook if you have it, because if you process the information by writing it down, the information gets processed a little bit differently than if you excuse me, again, if you copy and paste information or type it. So if you can, grab a piece of paper and a notebook or just a pencil or some paper right now, and you can get started making your study guide as we go along, or at least being able to participate in the practice assignments that we will do during this video. Okay, so if you don't have any paper and you don't have a pencil, please pause the video and go get some. If you just need to, if you don't have any of that, you can write on your phone or you can write on a Google Doc or something like that too. But I do recommend doing it with a pen or pencil and paper. Okay. Excuse me, I have something stuck in my throat. Okay. So if you remember all the way back to January and February, we talked about parts of speech. Parts of speech is what we call all of the different names for the 9 different categories of all of the words in English. In this class, we only covered 8. We did not cover interjections, which is the 9th part of speech. So we have only covered 8. Okay. So what I would like you to do on a piece of paper is write this sentence down and then identify all of the parts of speech in the sentences. Now, I have not told you of the parts of speech yet. This is kind of a warm-up activity. What do you remember? So of course we have things like nouns and adjectives. What else do we have in terms of parts of speech? Now pause this video, write the sentence down, and then start identifying which part of speech each word is. So for the first word, which is Andrew, what part of speech is that? That is a noun. So I would probably just write an N above Andrew in your notes. Then you go to and, which is the second word. What part of speech is and? Okay, so pause the video and go through this. This will probably take you about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so take your time and don't rush. Okay, so you have already written down this sentence in your notes, and you have hopefully gone through and identified which each word is in terms of part of speech. Now let's go through the answers. Now, I have color-coded these answers, and you might actually disagree with me on a few of them, but let's go through the answers together. Now, can you tell by how I color-coded this which color is for which part of speech? So I've already told you what Andrew is, which is a noun. So that means the other light blue words are also nouns. So we have Andrew, Teresa, jobs, argument, customer, news, customer, and media. Now, if you put social as a noun, that's okay because social media is kind of a noun together, but actually social can also be an adjective because it's describing the type of media. So if you're not positive with social, if you put social as a noun or an adjective, both of those are correct. Okay, so how about the purple? So the word after Andrew is and. What about the purple? You're right. This is a conjunction. So we actually only have two conjunctions here. We have and we have but. These are called coordinating conjunctions, okay? They are in simple sentences as well as compound sentences. Compound sentences, they connect the two clauses. Simple sentences, they just connect different words. How about this green, this kind of light green, thought? This is a verb. So we have thought, were, is, approaching, insulted. These are all verbs. How about this dark blue one for there? This is a pronoun. So we have their, them, and they. How about this gray? Safe. How about the gray? Safe, intense, bad, and social. I think I already kind of gave you a hint with social, but this is an adjective. What about after with the yellow? Yeah, after is a preposition. Okay, so we have after, with, and on. So with can be a little bit funky. With could kind of be a subordinating conjunction. It can also be a preposition. Here, it's a preposition because it is not starting a dependent clause. Then we have the in red, which is an article. We know this. And then we have these kind of dark green colors, unfortunately, especially and viciously, and these are adverbs. So I have all of the answers on the next slide. If when I was going through this, it was kind of confusing. So I'm now on the next slide, and to the left, we have all the correct words with their correct colors. Now, I'll say one more time, if you put social as a noun, that's okay because social media is often treated as just kind of a compound noun, even though it's not together. So if you put social as light blue or you put social as a noun, that's okay. All right. So we are all set with parts of speech. I'm going to test you guys on parts of speech on our final exam by basically asking what is an example of an adjective, or which of these words is an adverb. So just familiarize yourself with parts of speech. We've been doing this all semester, so don't spend too long on this, okay? You've been practicing throughout the whole semester, all right? So hold on for 1 second. Okay, sorry you guys, I had to go ask my husband to be a little bit more quiet on his work calls. Okay, so as I said, don't spend too much time on the parts of speech. I will be testing you, but really we've been studying this all semester, so this is nothing new. And if you're stuck and you're saying, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do here, I always suggest jumping online and going to Google Images. So parts of speech, type in, go to Google Images. Yep, 8 parts of speech. And then you can go, there's a YouTube. Yeah, there's something called Real English, and you can go through. So there's tons of these online that you can go through and help you study as well. But I really think that, we've done a really good job working on that. So I think we've got it for the most part. So that moves over to sentence structure. Now, sentence structure, we talked a little bit about in parts of speech in terms of simple sentences and compound sentences. So on a piece of paper, what I would like you to start, what I would like you to do is fill out this chart. So this chart has 12 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, by 1, 2, 3, and I filled out 2 of them. So fill out this chart in your notes. So we have a simple sentence. Now what's here? 2 independent clauses connected by a coordinating conjunction. This is a compound, right? We have complex, we have compound complex. So try to fill out this chart on your own in your own notes. Okay, so pause the video. Okay, so at this point, you should have filled out this chart in your notes. If you have some questions or you've left something blank, don't worry, we're about to go over the answers. So here are the answers for the sentence structured chart. So we have the simple sentence, which is one independent clause with one verb, and you can use adjectives and adverbs. So sentences like, I like ESL 40. Excuse me. The second sentence is a compound sentence. As I've said, it's 2 independent clauses connected by a coordinating conjunction. A coordinating conjunction is a fanboy, okay? So for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So these are fanboys. Remember this. Fanboys are coordinating conjunctions. So I like ESL 40, comma, but I love ESL 149. Okay, so just as a reminder, for a compound sentence, we have to have a comma before the fanboys. Okay, so you can see this comma came after ESL 40 because but is a fanboy. So we need to do that. Please remember there's commas involved in compound sentences. For a complex sentence, it's one independent clause and one dependent clause. Remember, an independent clause can exist by itself. A dependent clause can also be known as a fragment sentence. A dependent clause cannot exist by itself, okay? It needs an independent clause. And these are connected using something called subordinating conjunctions. Subordinating conjunctions are not fanboys, okay? Subordinating conjunctions, there's actually a lot more than we can memorize. So if you want to look up online and refresh your memory, you can put subordinating conjunctions and there's lists, okay? So 50 here, and just memorize the ones that you think we use most frequently, like because, although, okay? But yeah, subordinating conjunctions are in complex sentences. So although I like ESL 40, comma, I love ESL 149. Now, I just want to add here actually that we can switch this. I can say I love ESL 149, although I like ESL 40. And so we can switch this up. It does not need to, for complex sentences, it can be, that got a little weird, it can be either or. But if you see this, if it starts with a subordinating conjunction, we must have the comma. If it does not start with a subordinating conjunction, we do not use a comma. And lastly, we have compound complex sentences. At least 2 independent clauses and at least 1 dependent clause using both subordinating and coordinating conjunctions. For example, although I like ESL 40, I love ESL 149, and it is my favorite class. Now we have the dependent clause, although I like ESL 40, comma, I love ESL 49, which is a independent clause. You could have a comma here, you don't necessarily need it. And it is my favorite class. It is my favorite class is the second independent clause. So we have 3 clauses there. Although I like ESL 40, dependent. I love ESL 149, independent. It is my favorite class, independent. Okay, so let's practice making these sentences correct. So on a piece of paper, please go through these 5 sentences and correct them to make them okay, because all of them are incorrect for some reason. Okay, so pause the video and rewrite these sentences in your notes. Okay, so at this point, you should have paused the video and rewritten the sentence in your notes. Now, I will show you the correct answers. You may have changed them in a different way, but let me show you how I corrected them. So for the first sentence, it just says, loves to play the guitar. We need a subject to make that complete. Otherwise, it's called a fragment sentence, okay? This is not a dependent clause because we don't have a subject, so we just need to add a subject here. Tina loves to play the guitar. The second one, I cannot wait for a winter vacation, comma, although I will miss my friends. Now remember what we just said. If it starts with a subordinating conjunction, we use a comma. If it doesn't, then we don't. Now, did this start with a subordinating conjunction? No, it started with a pronoun. So that means we should get rid of this comma. I cannot wait for winter vacation, although I will miss my friends. The third one, I ate so much food yesterday that I am still full today, but I still want to eat in and out. Now, this is a lot to handle, but we know there should be a comma in here somewhere. Now think about our rules. If it starts with a subordinating conjunction, we put a comma. Does it start with a subordinating conjunction? No, it starts with a pronoun. Now, does it have a coordinating conjunction? Because we know that commas come before coordinating conjunctions. Yes, it has a but. So we can put a comma before the coordinating conjunction. So I ate so much food yesterday that I'm still full today, comma, but I still want to eat in and out. Number 4, yellow is my favorite color and. Now there's a few different ways that you could correct this. You could get rid of the and you could just put yellow is my favorite color, period. However, we are trying to practice a lot of different sentence structures. So for number 4, yellow is my favorite color and I wear something yellow every day. Now remember what I said about commas and coordinating conjunctions? And is really the only one that it's a little bit iffy. Now you can absolutely put a comma there as well. Let's make that red. But if you look it up, it's called what is it called? Let me think about it. It's a British and an American thing about whether you put commas before and. So I was raised not to, but nowadays people are teaching that you do. You put commas before all coordinating conjunctions. So really, we have been practicing that you do put commas before coordinating conjunctions, but it's really stylistic actually before the and. So you could say yellow is my favorite color and I wear something yellow every day, period. Or you could say yellow is my favorite color, comma, and I wear something yellow every day. Both are going to be correct for me. Number 5. All right, even though it is cold outside, I didn't bring a jacket to school, so I'm freezing. That's a lot. Let's put the commas. Even though it is cold outside. Does this start with a subordinating conjunction? It does. So we need to put a comma after the dependent clause. Even though it is cold outside, comma. I didn't bring a jacket to school. That's our second clause. And we know that our so is a coordinating conjunction. So we put a comma before so. Even though it is cold outside, comma, I didn't bring a jacket to school, comma, so I am freezing. Okay, you guys. So I hope we're feeling very confident about sentence structure. Please remember to use this chart for help. You guys have this in your notes. We practiced this. You have this in your quizzes. And then also, just practice writing sentences correctly or at least identifying sentences correctly. Okay, so let's move on to the verb tenses. And this is going to be an intense section, and we're going to talk it through as we go. So for verb tenses, what do we need to know? We need to know verb tense names, okay? So when I say present perfect progressive, we need to know what that means. We also need to know how it's formed, which means when I say simple past, you can say, oh, simple past is formed by S plus V2 plus 0, okay? And we also need to know the usage, which means when do we use this? How do we use this? So when I say, when do we use the present simple? You can say, we use it with habitual actions. So again, use your quizzes to help you study. So again, another chart, all right? So in your notes, And actually, in your notes, what would be helpful is if you drew a chart, but you left a lot of the spaces blank, like you put the simple past up top. Yeah, like why don't we do that? Because we are going to add other information here. So in your notes, maybe use an entire page. Draw a chart that has 12 spots in it, and then start filling it out. So we have simple past, simple present, simple future. Okay, then we're going to have past progressive, present progressive, future progressive. So then fill out the rest. Pause this video. Okay, so at this point, you should have filled in all of the blank spaces with our 12 verb tense names. Now, these are our 12 verb tense names. We have the simple tenses, simple past, present, and future. We have the progressive tenses, past, present, and future. We have the perfect tenses, past, present, and future. And then we have the perfect progressive tenses, past, present, and future. Okay, we need to know these names. In the same chart, this is going to be difficult, okay, but in the same chart, I would like you to fill in the form, okay? So how do you form, sorry, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. I need to look at something bright. Okay, so how are you going to form the simple past? How are you going to form the simple present and the simple future, and so on and so forth? If you forget something, just leave it blank and we can go through it together. So pause this video, and underneath in the same chart, underneath those verb tense names, start filling in the form, okay? All right, so you should have paused the video and done your best to fill out the verb tense forms. Here they are. So for simple past, we have S plus V2 plus O. Simple present, S plus V1 or just V, O. For the simple future, S plus will plus V plus O. So again, we don't have to have V1. That's not really a thing. Yeah, you can just say V. For the progressive tenses, we have the past progressive, S plus was, were, ing, V-ing plus O. So you can see that the only difference here with the progressive tenses is what comes before V-ing. So S plus was, were, because we're in the past. And our is, because we are in the future. Will be, ing, that's because it's in the future. And remember, there are different ways to put the future tense, okay? You can say will, you can say be going to. So there's a few different ways to do that, okay? So just pick one or the other for these future simple, okay? Sorry, I forgot to mention that before. Now for the perfect tense, the only thing that changes really is the fact that we are doing the past participle as well as V3. So we're doing the past participle, the past participle is V3. So then we're doing had because it's in the past participle. Have, has, because it's in the present, past participle. Will have, plus the past participle because it's in the future. Now, if you're sitting here going, shoot, I'm forgetting the past participle, you can go to Google Image and you can type in past participle. Okay, so there's going to be lots of lists. Okay, so you can click into a few, you can look them on, so for example, we have become, became, become, begin, began, begun, bite, bit, bitten, break, broke, broken. Okay, so you can go through these and just familiarize yourself with them. And last but not least, we have the present, past, and future perfect progressive. So had been, ing, have, has been, ing, will have been, ing. Okay, so we're going back to the ing because it's the progressive, but then we're using this had, have, has, and will have because it's the perfect. So it's a mix between that. I'm hoping that we're seeing some patterns. I know that this is a lot to take in. So if you need to take a break right now, go take a break, come back in a few minutes. It's a lot to really understand, okay? But here's this kind of cheat sheet verb form chart. And next we're going to talk about the usage. Now, the usage is when we use these different verbs. Now, we spent a lot of time in class filling out those worksheets that have when we use them. So here, let me show you the worksheets. And because this would be a great resource for you to study from. So when we're in your Canvas, we go to, here we go. Good, so we go to the worksheets. Here's an example. Yeah, so you guys remember these. So take them out. You've made them for all of your verb tenses. So take them out and study them. This is so useful because I'm not going through time markers today because that's just so much. So it's really important that you use these worksheets to study from because we worked really hard on them in classes and outside of classes. So use these. And there's this usage button right down here, not really button, but place. And this is where you can use these worksheets to fill out the rest of your chart. So take a second, go find those worksheets if you can find them, get organized, and then fill out this chart and pause this video, okay? Okay, so at this point, you should have found your worksheets. If you couldn't, that's okay. You can let me know, send me an email. I can send them to you. And then you should also have filled in this chart. So this chart at this point should have the names, the forms, and now the usage. Now, this is really kind of like fancy phrasing of when we use them. You do not need to memorize this phrasing, like to indicate, blah, blah, blah. Like just write down whatever we wrote down in our worksheets, in our charts, okay? This is the same kind of idea. It's just said in a little bit more of a formal way. You are not going to be asked to write anything. You're going to be asked to identify. So as long as you can identify when different verb tenses are being used and why, that's important. Okay, so if you're looking at this being very overwhelmed, that's normal. Just look at your charts to help you more. Okay, this is just to be organized in one place. But again, just check out the charts that we worked on in class. Those are a little bit more straightforward. So yeah, so all of these, remember we're doing past habit already completed, an uncompleted action in the past, a completed action that took place before another past action, and then a past action that began before another one and continued up to it. So there's different kinds of levels of this. So I would go through this and spend some time. Also look at the diagrams that we did. That can be very useful. And if you have any questions, let me know. So here are some verb tense examples. So in your chart, if you have room, if you don't, you can make another chart. But I would like you to come up with an example sentence for each verb tense. Okay, this is going to take a little bit of time. So go through each of them and figure out an example. So I ate pizza yesterday for the simple past. I'm eating pizza right now for the present progressive. Now pause this video and create sentences for each of them. Now this, I don't know why this is so big at the bottom, but there should be 12 spots exactly like the other charts. Okay, so go ahead and pause it and write an example sentence. Okay, so let's take a look at the example sentences that I found, and you can double check the ones that you wrote. Now, this is all about pizza, okay? So let's just double check the structure of the verb tense. So I ate pizza yesterday. I eat pizza every day. I will eat pizza tomorrow, okay? I was eating pizza when you arrived because we have two. I was eating pizza when you arrived. I am eating pizza right now. I will be eating pizza when you arrive. Now, thinking about these time markers, like right now and when, okay, that's important. Now we're going to look at the perfect. I had eaten all of the pizza when you arrived. I have eaten all of the pizza, and I will have eaten all of the pizza by the time you arrive. So hopefully we can see these patterns: had eaten, have eaten, will have eaten. So we can study the verb tense changing when it's changing from time. And last but not least, I had been eating pizza for 2 hours when you arrived. I have been eating pizza for 2 hours. I will have been eating pizza for 2 hours when you arrive. Now you can see that the past perfect progressive uses the simple past. The future perfect progressive uses the present. Okay, we studied this, we went over this. But yes, so these are examples. So definitely pause this, double check the verb tenses that you used in your own example sentences, okay? And we can, if you have any questions about this, please email me, okay? And I can help you if you're not sure. If you're thinking, oh, this sounds a little bit wrong, you can also go to Grammarly, the website Grammarly, okay? I know that we tried to do that a little bit in the beginning of this, a little bit ago, but you can always go to Grammarly and check your work, okay? All right, so let's do some practice. Now, in your notebook, please fill in the correct verb in each of these sentences. Okay, this is going to be tough. You can do it. Think about the time markers, think about the context, okay? So pause the video, fill in the correct verb tenses, and then we can move on. Okay, so at this point, you should have filled in the 5 verb tenses, and let's talk about the correct answers. So for number 1, it's have disappeared. Many species have disappeared in the last 5 decades. Have disappeared is the past, is the present perfect, okay? Because we're using the present perfect because we're talking about something that happened in the past up until now. And we don't really know when. It's somewhere in the last 5 decades, but we don't have a specific time period. So you say many species have disappeared in the past 5 decades. The second one, while I was sleeping, I heard a loud noise. Kind of a weird little sentence, like you're not hearing when you're sleeping, but you are, right? You could say I woke up to a loud noise, but we're using the past simple because we're talking about 2 actions in the past. One is continuing and one is interrupting. So if you remember when the reason when we use this, while I was sleeping up into the second point, I boom, interrupted. I heard a loud noise. Number 3, if you study hard enough, I'm sure you will pass the final exam. This is the future simple. I know this looks a little bit funky because there we go. There we go. Okay. I'm sure you will pass the final exam. If you do this, you will do this. This is a conditional. We haven't talked about conditionals, but if we're thinking about it in terms of you will do something in the future, you could also say you are going to pass the exam, okay? So we're just focusing on the future simple in number 3. For number 4, the key word, the time marker is often. And often means a habitual action. So my son often passes his exams successfully. We're going to use pass in the present simple form. And since son is singular, we have to say passes. And last but not least, this time next week, I will be flying to San Francisco. So I will be flying, the future progressive. So at this time next week, I will be doing an action, okay? You could also say I will fly to San Francisco, and that's probably fine. So future simple is okay here as well. Remember, a lot of times with the future simple and the future progressive, you can kind of go either way. I put will be flying. If you put I will fly, that's okay too. All right, so let's do this again. So last time we reviewed the present perfect, past simple, future simple, present simple, and future progressive. So let's do 5 more. Okay, so same. In your notebook, please write down what you think is the right answers for numbers 1 through 5, and then we will review them. Okay, so pause this video. Okay, so you've paused your video and you've written down your answers. Let's go through the correct answers. Now we have Josh thought that he had paid all of the bills, but then he received a notification stating that he hadn't. Now this is tough because the past perfect is a weird one, but Josh thought that he had paid all the bills. He thought that this was done with in in the past before he received the notification. So we say had paid as a past perfect. Josh thought that he paid all the bills, but then he received a notification saying that he hadn't. That's okay too. So if you put the simple past there, that's fine. Either one works. Number 2, Sheena will have been smoking for 10 years when she quits next Wednesday. This is a non-debatable one. This is the correct answer. Sheena will have been smoking. And I know this is kind of tough because there we go. I think we can kind of see it. There we go. Okay. Because the future perfect progressive is a big one. But when she quits next Wednesday, so next Wednesday we know is the future, and then we have the time frame for 10 years, so we know that it's going to be the progressive. Okay, so Sheena will have been smoking for 10 years when she quits next Wednesday. So by the time it's next Wednesday, she will have been smoking for 10 years. Number 3, I will have bought all my Christmas gifts by the time I go home. I will have bought, they were talking about the future perfect. At this point, by the time I go home, so by this next action, I will have done this. Number 4, Chris had been studying for 6 hours when you got to the library. Past perfect progressive. He had already been doing this for 6 hours, the time frame, ing, when you got, right? So this got is the simple past to the library. So we're talking about the past perfect progressive here. And last one, present perfect. Ted has quit all of the jobs he's ever had. You could also say Ted quit all the jobs he's ever had, but we're talking about has quit. We don't really know when he quit these jobs. So that's why we're talking about the present perfect, and that's why that's the best answer there. Okay, so if you guys found this tough, this is tougher than the final exam. Okay, we are not going to be, excuse me, I need to sneeze. Sorry about that, you guys. I swear every time I make these videos, I sneeze. I don't sneeze at all throughout the day, but whenever I make the videos, I sneeze. So funny. So as I was saying, this is tough. And there's only going to be a small amount of the final exam like this. So for the verb tenses, I know that this seems like a lot, okay? Because it is. We spent a lot of time on verb tenses. But what I really recommend is you knowing the names, how it's formed, and then when it's used. I'm also going to be asking you, fill in the blank questions, and I will make it so that there's clearly only one right answer. I'm not going to put 2 answers that could be used and you have to guess which one's the best one. There's going to be only one clear right answer, okay? All right, so if you need a break, take a break, and then we're going to move into the second half of the semester, which was nouns and quantifiers and gerunds and infinitives, okay? So nouns and quantifiers, we just got done with this a few weeks ago. So this is just as a reminder for common and proper nouns. Common nouns, they do not use a capital letter unless at the start of the sentence. We talk about common nouns as general things, places, or people. So for example, I can't find a chair. I'm from this country. The student was late. So we're talking about chair, country, and student as common nouns. The opposite are proper nouns. They always use a capital letter. We talk about specific and special things, places, and people. Professor Tina assigned homework. I've never been to New York City. She is taking English 101. So Professor Tina is a title. So you're going to use the proper noun here. If you just said the professor assigned the homework, you would not if there was not a name. New York City is the name of a city, so we have to capitalize it. And English 101 is the name of a class, so we have to capitalize it. So these are common and proper nouns. For singular and plural nouns, Singular nouns are nouns that represent one of something, followed by singular verbs. So non-count nouns and collective nouns are singular nouns, remember. Okay, so some examples are my mom loves chocolate and the sugar tastes bad. I don't know how sugar can taste bad, but and the city is boring. So mom is singular, so we use loves with an S. Sugar is a non-count noun, so it's singular, so we use taste with an S. City is singular, so we use is. For plural nouns are nouns that represent more than one of something and are followed by plural verbs. So examples are the boys are going to the beach. I hope to buy 3 shirts. I want to go to 30 countries before I turn 30. So we have boys as a plural noun, so we have to have are. We have shirts, or we have 3 of something, so we can pluralize it by adding an S. And then we have 30, which is more than one of something, so we have to add an S as well to countries. So these are singular and plural nouns. For regular and irregular nouns, regular nouns are nouns that when pluralized, they keep their base and they add S. So I ate 3 bananas. They bought 2 puppies. I had to wash the dishes last night. So bananas, you add an S. Puppies, you add an IES. And dishes, you add an ES. So regular nouns are nouns that add an S and they keep the same base, even though some of the little things at the end might change a little bit, but you add an S. Irregular nouns are nouns that when pluralized may change their base and do not only add S. So for example, we saw some wolves today. Wolves changes the base. The F goes to a V. My teachers gave us the syllabi last week. Syllabi is plural for syllabus. So we don't add an S there, you actually change the base. She brushed her teeth this morning. So tooth becomes teeth, which also changes the base. So regular nouns are nouns that you pluralize and add an S, and irregular nouns are nouns that you do not pluralize, that when you pluralize, they either change the base and don't add an S, or they change the base and add an S. All right, last one. So count and non-count nouns. Count nouns are nouns that you can count. Surprise, surprise. These take the singular or plural form. So for example, I have 2 tests tomorrow. She has gone on a run every day, and they ate all the cupcakes last night. So we have 2 tests, a run, because it doesn't have to be pluralized. We can count runs. I went on 6 runs this week, but we have a run, and then the cupcakes, so multiple there. Non-count nouns are nouns that you cannot count. These take only the singular form, as we've said. So some examples are, can you give me some advice? I would like to buy some new furniture. The milk has gone bad. So advice is non-count. You cannot count this. You cannot say that my husband gave me 3 advices. You'd have to actually say my husband gave me a piece of advice, or my husband gave me some advice. For furniture, furniture is a collective noun that represents all of the items in like a house, like chairs and tables and desks. And so furniture is a collective noun that represents a lot of different things, very similar to luggage. Luggage means backpacks and suitcases. Okay, so I would like to buy some new furniture, or you could say I would like to buy a piece of furniture. And third, the milk has gone bad. Remember, milk is non-count. You cannot say, I will have 3 milks. You'd have to say, I will have 3 glasses of milk. Otherwise, you can't count it because it's liquid. But we can use the with it because the and the is specific. You could not say and you could not say but you can say the. Okay. So some of the quantifiers that are followed, and some of these for non-count can be count as well, but here are some for count. You can say some, any, a few, or few. Excuse me, remember for a few and few, a few means like a positive or affirmative connotation, and few means negative or little. So you could say, let's go through all of them. I'll have some grapes. I don't have any shoes. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. I don't have any shirts. I have a few dollars, or I have few dollars. I have many dogs. I have several cats. I have a couple of bananas. I have a lot of cupcakes. Ooh, I have had enough cookies. I have one horse. I have two horses. I have three horses. I have a child. I have an apple. I have the book. For non-count, you could say, I have some sugar. I don't have any flour. I have a little water, or I have little water. I have too much hot chocolate. I have a lot of love to give. I have plenty of wisdom. I have enough advice. I have half of the, let's see, half of the coffee. I've had half of the coffee. I have had all of the rice. I have had part of the rice. Okay. So let's do a little bit of a practice. Now on a piece of paper, please rewrite these 5 sentences and correct them. There are multiple things wrong with each sentence, okay? So multiple things that need to be corrected. So pause this video and rewrite these sentences in your notebooks correctly. Okay, so at this point you have rewritten these 5 sentences. Now let's go back and practice them. So my friend gave me an advice needs to be changed to some advice, and told me to go to Oceanside, which needed to be capitalized because it's a proper noun, to buy the shirts. The shirts, okay, maybe, but when we're talking about shirts, we're usually talking about general. So you could say some shirts at Target, which needs to be capitalized. Okay, so there were 4 things we needed to change about number 1. Again, if you wanted to keep the shirts because your friend had told you about some specific shirts and you went specifically for them, that's totally fine. That's just not as common. Okay, so what about number 2? There were so many women needs to be changed to women at a yoga class today. We would say at the yoga class today, or at yoga class, or the yoga class. We don't need a yoga class. When we're talking about yoga class, we're just talking about the one we go to. We're not talking about one in general. We're actually being specific. And yoga class is not capitalized. There's no reason for that because it's just a normal exercise class, okay? If it was a specific type of yoga, then you would capitalize it. So there were so many women at yoga class today, comma, so I decided to go home instead. All right, for number 3, my friend should be thinks. My friend thinks that we should go to the beach. The beach is never capitalized unless it has a name after it. To see a little dolphins. This does not make sense. Okay, we can't see a little dolphins. We'd have to see a few dolphins because a few goes with things we can count and a little goes with nouns that we cannot count. So for number 4, she asked me for a few rice, but I said no. You could say she asked me. You can't say ask because she is singular. So she asked me for a little rice, but I said no. Now it's the opposite for number 3. A few means we're going to count. A little means it's an amount, okay? So an amount means general. So rice, you would not give me 2 grains of rice. You'd have to give me a little rice, which is just a little bit, like a little helping. And number 5, changes to I need to finish a couple of homeworks, changes to some homework tonight, because homework is non-count. So we can't say a couple of because that's count. We'd have to say some, and then homework cannot be pluralized. So we'd have to change homeworks to homework. Okay, hopefully you guys got these correct. Good job. Let's keep going. Our last unit, gerunds and infinitives. So this should be the freshest in your mind because you had a quiz and a project due last week for this. So good job. Let's go through. So for gerunds and infinitives, a gerund is the ing form of a verb that acts like a noun. For example, running is my favorite hobby. I love swimming in the ocean, and I thought about calling him. running, swimming, and calling. Infinitives is to plus base form of a verb that acts like a noun. So examples, I forgot to do my homework. I asked him to call me later. I promised to wake up earlier tomorrow. So we have to do, to call, and to wake. So the big difference here is gerund is ing, infinitives is to plus base form. Gerund rules. We have S equals G, which means subject equals gerund. Working out is difficult when I'm tired. Working and working out is a phrasal verb, but working is our gerund. Laughing is the best medicine. Laughing is our gerund. Our second rule, prep plus gerund. The examples. They complain about doing their homework all the time. About is the preposition and doing is the gerund. I believe in doing my best. In is the preposition and doing is the gerund. Verb plus gerund equals gerund, means gerund comes after the verb. So examples, I recommend going to the doctor once a year. Recommend is the verb, is the main verb, and going is the gerund. He imagines winning the lottery often. Imagines is the main verb and winning is the gerund. So again, we have subject equals gerund, prep plus gerund, verb plus gerund. These are also the main verbs followed by a gerund that we've gone through together in previous lessons. If you would like examples of these words, you can go back to one of the previous videos. Now infinitive rules. We have adjective plus infinitive. So they were happy to see each other. Happy is the adjective, to see is the infinitive. It is always boring to listen to him talk. Boring is the adjective, to listen is the infinitive. Noun plus infinitive. I want my dogs to listen to me all the time. Dogs is the noun and to listen is the infinitive. They asked the teacher to extend the deadline for the project. Teacher is the noun, to extend is the infinitive. Verb plus infinitive. I have decided to move to Norway. Decided is the verb, to move is the infinitive. Expect is I expect to read an email from you later. Expect is the verb, to read is the infinitive. So we have adjective plus infinitive, noun plus infinitive, and verb plus infinitive. These are the 3 infinitive rules. And these are the main verbs followed by infinitives. We've gone over them in previous videos. If you'd like examples of all of these verbs, you can go back to the previous gerund infinitive video for examples. Now, this is the gerund and infinitive meaning changes, okay? So we've touched on this, and there won't be too much of this on the final exam, but there will be some, so let's just make sure we feel comfortable with it. So we have 5 verbs, okay? So these 2 and these 3. So try plus infinitive means you tried to do something, but you stopped because it was difficult. I tried running a mile, but I'm incredibly out of shape. Try plus infinitive means you stopped because you didn't succeed. I tried to run a mile, but my shoelaces snapped. So I tried running a mile means I tried it, but I couldn't because it was too hard. I tried to run means you tried to do it, but you couldn't because something stopped you. Stop. Stop plus gerund means quit. I stopped drinking beer last week. And hold on, I forgot to highlight this. Sorry, I'm smiling because my next door neighbor is playing music so loud, and he always complains about the other neighbor playing his music too loud, so it's ironic. Sorry, anyway. So stop plus gerund means to quit. I stopped drinking beer last week means I quit. I no longer drink beer. Stop plus infinitive means I took a break while doing something. I stopped to drink a beer on my way home. Means I was driving home, but I decided I'm thirsty and I deserve a beer, so I stopped and got one and had it. Forget plus gerund means I'd already done something, but I can't remember it. I forgot going to the store, so I'm surprised that my fridge is full. And stop and forget plus infinitive means I had the intention of doing something, but I didn't. I forgot to go to the store. My fridge is empty. So I hope you can see the difference between these two. Oh, wow, I forgot going to the store. Can't believe my fridge is full. Means I went, but I forgot about it. I forgot to go to the store. My fridge is empty means I was going to go to the store, but I forgot to do it. All right, last 2. Remember, plus gerund means I did something and I remembered it. So I remember calling her on her birthday. She was so happy. Remember plus infinitive means I had the intention of doing something and I did it. I remembered to call her on her birthday, so she was so happy. The first one means, oh, I'm remembering this. Yes, I did call her on her birthday and she was so happy. Like I'm recalling it. Remember, I remembered to call means, yep, I was going to do it and I did it. So she was super happy about that. Regret plus gerund means you did something you wish you hadn't done. I regret staying up so late last night. Regret plus infinitive means a formal way of saying I'm sorry. I regret to tell you that you are fired. So these are our 5, oops, sorry guys. Woo, almost showed you the answer. These are our 5 verbs that have different meaning changes with gerunds and infinitives. So let's do a practice. This is our last practice. On a separate piece of paper, please write down, there are some correct answers and some not so correct answers. So the words in bold are the words that you either correct or you just stay the same. Okay, so pause this video, go through and decide, does this make sense? Is this a correct rule? And there are some correct answers, okay? So pause the video and double check this. Okay, so you guys have paused the video and you've written down the correct answers on your paper. Let's go through. So I remember growing up, we needed to change to grow to growing because this is verb plus gerund. I remember growing up in Connecticut. We stopped living there in 2006. So this was fine because this is verb plus gerund as well. We stopped living there in 2006. So you can see actually that remember and stopped are verbs that have both different meanings, right? They have the meaning changes. So this one is fine because it means I recall, I remembered this, not I remembered to do this, okay? I could not say I remember to grow up in Connecticut. That doesn't make sense. You don't remember to grow up somewhere. It's not like when you were a baby, you said, okay, I want to grow up in Connecticut, and then you remembered to do it later. You remember growing up in Connecticut. And then we stopped to live there. It does not make sense because you cannot say I was on my way somewhere and then we just stopped to live in Connecticut. Like I was on my way to Canada, but we just stopped and to live. No, that doesn't make sense either. So we stopped living there means we quit this, that ended. So good job if you got these 2 right because we just went over the meaning changes. I anticipated living there forever, verb plus gerund again, but my dad decided to get verb plus infinitive, a new job in North Carolina. So you needed to change both of those. Moving, which you needed to change, is subject plus gerund, is always hard. So I asked my mom to stay, which is noun plus infinitive. So you had to change that in Connecticut. Thinking it was a bad idea, that stayed the same. Subject equals gerund. She said no. I thought about running away, preposition plus gerund. So you had to change that. Running away from North Carolina, but I knew I would regret leaving my family. This would stay the same. Regret is another one of those words with weird meaning changes, but I regret leaving means with the ing means I wish that something you wish you hadn't done, not I'm sorry. So if you kept that the same, good job. That was one of those funky verbs for the meaning change. When I visit, I am so happy to see, so you'd have to change that because of the adjective plus infinitive, my friends. I love to hang out with them even though it has been 14 years, verb plus infinitive. Okay, so good job if you got this correct. Yeah, this was tricky, so great job. All right, so for the final exam, your final exam is going to be online. It's multiple choice. There will be some matching and there will be some fill in the blanks, okay? So you've got this. You're going to do so well. Just remember to study the parts of speech, the sentence structure, the verbs, nouns and quantifiers, and gerunds and infinitives. I suggest making a study guide to help you organize the information. Good luck, you guys. You're going to do just great, okay? I believe in you. I totally think you're going to do an amazing job. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Otherwise, I will look forward to seeing the results of your final exam. You guys have done such a good job this semester. I'm so proud of you and I hope you're proud of yourselves. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.